Hello, this is David and welcome to Lufia 2, a review and retrospective history. Lufia 2 is probably the best sequel to the worst game ever made. It's a classic standing toe-to-toe with other masterpieces such as Chrono Trigger, Super Mario RPG, and Final Fantasy VI. The developers obviously put a lot of love and care into the game because just about everything from the first game is gone, improved upon, or changed for the better. Characters are no longer reduced to tropes and are actually fully realized with fleshed-out development. Released in 1995 in Japan and 96 in the West by Taito, it received a 30 out of 40 in Famitsu and a 90% in Game Fan magazine. The game takes a page out of Final Fantasy IV's book in that you have a revolving cast of characters that join and leave your party at prescribed moments, all for different reasons. Maxim, the forefather of the hero from the first game, is your typical honorable protagonist. In battle, he's well-rounded as a strong attacker and competent healer. His girlfriend Tia is the weapon shop owner and your typical mage. She is the weakest attack in the game, but she can cast extremely powerful magic. She's sweet and lovable, and I find myself rooting for her, but I do know that her romance is doomed. Guy is a fellow monster hunter and devoted to his sister. He's an extremely strong fighter, but unable to use any magic. Selen joins as the commander of the army of Parcelite, and she's a little bit rough around the edges and fails to get along with the party at first, but it doesn't take her long to grow in respect and eventually befriend the group. Dakar is the self-proclaimed greatest warrior of the land, the most powerful attacker in the game, but he doesn't have much of a brain to back it up. He and Guy get into quite a few arguments over who's the more powerful warrior. Lexus joins the party briefly, and he's about as useful as you would expect a scientist to be. As a caster, he's okay, and as an attacker, he's better than Tia, but at least he builds you a submarine. The last party member to join, Artea, is an elf. He's really good, able to cast all kinds of spells, and even some light-based spells that Selen can't use, and on top of that, his bows attack all enemies. The antagonists, while not as well fleshed out as their counterparts, are still well done. The Sinistrals appear, hence the subtitle of the game, but for the most part, they just serve as an excuse for a boss fight. Real development occurs in the form of Aram, the Sinistral of Death. I'm not going to spoil anything here, but there aren't just big baddies to deal with. There are smaller fry that your party encounters as well, the most memorable being Birdie and Bart, an extremely incompetent duo of thieves who even Dakar is able to outsmart. They remind me of Liz and Ard from Wild Arms 2, if any of you out there have ever played that gem. Lufia 2 is a prequel to Lufia and the Fortress of Doom, and as such, a bit of the ending was revealed in the opening of the first game. But the story is so well told, with many twists and turns, that it doesn't matter if you already know the outcome before beginning the game. It also helped that Lufia didn't sell all that well, so the majority of players, myself included, only played the first Lufia after having played and loved the second Lufia. It's a shame though, because after playing the masterpiece that is Lufia 2, I'm sure most people were disappointed by the first. The story has a sense of foreboding, but overall, the adventure is lighthearted. Party members bicker over stupid things like how much salt to put in a dish or who's the stronger warrior. A nice touch is watching the relationship between Maxim and Selen grow and blossom into marriage. The only similar game that I can think of that does this is Dragon Quest V, but here it's very well done, because the characters are much more fleshed out, though it would have been nice to be able to choose between Tia and Selen, but I can see why the developers wouldn't or couldn't go that route. The visuals are very nicely done, and the soundtrack is whimsical. I love the overworld theme, but there really should have been more dungeon tracks considering that you're stuck in there for 75% of the game. Speaking of dungeons, while encounters on the overworld are random, those in the dungeons are on screen, and each time you move or even take an action, the monsters move as well. It's roguelike in a sense. One thing that I really think ages many older games is their walking speed. They almost beg for a fast forward feature, but you won't have that problem in Lufia 2 though. Maxim speeds around like the Flash and it's glorious. The dungeons are also chock full of devious puzzles from block pushing to lever pulling. They're really well done, and the game does a good job of spacing them out throughout the dungeon and giving you clues on how to solve them. Similar to Zelda, the party gains tools to use in order to solve puzzles such as fire arrows, bombs, and hookshots. Equally nice, if you screw up too much, you can just cast a spell to refresh it with no penalty. Another homage to Zelda is that typically there's a boss key that you have to find in order to fight the boss and move on from the dungeon. The one gripe that I do have about the dungeons in Overworld is that there is no illusion of non-linearity that the other JRPGs seem to have mastered. It's quite literally town, dungeon for about 2/3 of the game. The battle system is your standard turn-based affair, but with a slight twist, the IP gauge. This unique system, which I haven't seen copied in any subsequent games, is quite ingenious. For the most part, each piece of equipment has a unique ability attached to it, be it healing, attacking, or supporting. Each ability takes up a certain percentage of your IP gauge, and the gauge only fills up as you take hits in battle. It's similar to the limit break system, but more strategic in that you have about 5 choices of what abilities to use, and you also have to make strategic decisions about what you actually want to equip. Do you want to have the powerful weapon with no ability, or the weaker weapon with the kick-ass ability? I found myself changing equipment around because one character didn't have any good abilities, and I wanted to be able to put his IP attacks to good use. Another unique addition are the capsule monsters. They're AI-controlled monsters who fight alongside you as a 5th party member. There are 7 in all, each aligned to a different element, and you have to find them all. It's a pretty fun side quest. For the most part, they're very helpful and there's no reason not to use them, unlike in Lufia 4, but they can be annoying in a few respects. First of all, in order to get more powerful, they need to evolve, which they can only do by feeding them the proper equipment. But the problem with this is that the game is bugged. Monsters will crave certain items, but when you feed them those items, it's actually a crapshoot on whether they'll like them or not. It's very frustrating to find a rare item, see the monster craving it, feed it to him, only for him to say that it's disgusting and gain nothing for it, and to top it off, you lose the item. Secondly, many of the monsters are found far too late in the game to be viable, considering that they do all start on level 1, so you're best off finding one that you like and using him for the remainder of the game. The Ancient Cave is no longer the dark, dank, swamp-infested shithole of the first game, but is instead a joy to behold and very fun to play. When you enter, you're stripped of all your levels, items, spells, and equipment. You're then tasked with reaching the 100th floor in one go. This is quite the daunting task, but it's not impossible. I've done it, though it does take quite some time. Interspersed throughout the cave are red chests, which are items that you can keep only inside the dungeon, blue chests, which is special equipment only found in the cave, which you can take with you after you leave the dungeon, and iris treasures, which are kind of like trophies. They're just there for decoration and for completion's sake. The only way to leave the cave, other than dying of course, is to either complete it fully or find and use the Providence item, which is found around the 20th floor. Towards the end of the cave, unique monsters will appear such as dragons, but the ultimate boss, harder than the final boss of the actual game, is Master, the giant red slime. If you manage to defeat him in 4 turns, or just suicide yourself, you gain the Ancient Key and an Iris treasure. The key allows you to open up a door in the Gruberic lobby, so it's pretty much useless and they're only for bragging rights. There are a few changes to the American version. All crosses were removed, bunny girls in the casino were removed as well, and a puzzle in Gordovan Tower was completely removed because, of course, it involved moving blocks into the shape of a cross. Also, a floor in the submarine shrine was completely glitched and it's very difficult to navigate, though this was fixed in the European version. Upon completing the game, there is a New Game Plus feature where you can go through earning 4 times more experience, fully eliminating the need for grinding. And if you do complete the game again, you open up Gift Mode, which allows you to just play the Ancient Cave, but you can choose which party members to bring into the cave with you. I love Lufia 2. It's easily my top 5 best SNES game. It's a crying shame that the sequels didn't build off Lufia 2's accomplishments and instead tried in vain to do their own thing. But that's another video, for another day. This has been David. If you like this, please like, comment, and subscribe, and have a good day.